It's 3:30 straight up here at KNON 89.3 FM Dallas. My name is Jeff K. Time now for Thud Slap. In the studio with us today is none other than Patrick Codenys. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Of Front 242. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm fine.
That's great. Why don't you tell us how the tour's been?
For the moment, we have very good crowds all over America, and a lot of interest of people all over the country.
You see the American response being pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good.
Is that surprising to you?
A little, because it's the fourth time we go on the eastern coast, but it's the first time we went to California and Texas, and we didn't expect so many people at the gigs.
You've gotten a lot of people at your gigs in California and here in the Southwest?
Yeah.
You played last night in Houston?
Yes.
I heard there was a little can throwing going on there, huh?
Yeah, the first 40 minutes of the show were really okay, and we had a good communication, but at the end of the show, people began to throw cans and things like that. They said it was a tradition in the house, but it was quite difficult to go further with the show.
Let's talk a little bit about Front 242 as a concept realization. We've noticed that here on the new album and also the new 12-inch. Why don't you give us a little insight as to why Front 242 is not a group but a realization concept?
I think one of the major reasons is that the people in the band try to control everything from the creation to the end production, also the sleeves and press books and things like that. It's very important for us to control the image, the picture of the band, and that's the way we work for a sort of concept, which is more important than the individual, I should say, ego of each member.
And as far as it being, is Front 242 a product? Do you look at it as something rather than, let's say, a lot of bands call themselves a project. This is our project. We're not a band. But I've read in articles, let's say in NME and Sounds, that Front 242 is more of a product that you push, like let's say something, an advertising product.
Yeah, we consider it sometimes as something very like a marketing product. It doesn't mean we try to reach the quality of this product, but it's also to be a little, to have reaction in function of what's happening most of the time in rock business. It's the artist is really weak and can decide what's happening with his songs after he has done them. So in this case, we're trying to control again as much as possible and having a real strong product at the end.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about the sound of Front 242. I read once that Richard 23 does not like to call it music. It's more a construction or deconstruction of sounds.
Yeah, we're working. It relates to the way we are working. In fact, nobody is musician in the band, so that nobody is able to do a solo, or nobody will oblige the other one to put his solo in the music, for instance. And the way we're working is more like a collage way. We are taking a lot of samples from everywhere. We pay a lot of attention about all the sounds of the environment, and we just exchange a lot of diskettes and cassettes and things like that. And the final result is just like putting all those samples together.
Do all three of you, well, I know there's four, do you all collaborate together on a song, or do each of you work separately and then present your material as a group? Or
basically, everybody's working as a unit, and at a certain point, when we have enough library, when we have enough sequences and ideas, we decide to go 2 by 2, sometimes 3 people in the studio for a final work.
Okay. Daniel, is Daniel a member of the group, or is he in the background doing all the sequencing, or what is Daniel's part?
Daniel is a very important member of the band, because he's the most technician person in the band. And also on stage, he doesn't appear on the stage, but he's working at the mixing desk, and that's very important because we want to control our sound live also. And he's really working like a producer or like a DJ in the back of his mixing desk. He's just keeping tracks and sending effects and things like that. It's making it very alive and controlling the sound in the venue.
Well, we're going to talk about the live show a little bit later on. Right now, I've got the new single queued up on the turntable here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Never Stop single? It's a A-side 45, and then we get a treat on the B-side. We've got 5 songs at 33. What was the reason for doing a 45-33 type 12-inch?
The reason was we consider the 33 side as a one-way manner to listen to the record. It has to be complete. There's no silence in between the songs, so it's more like, I should say, sort of concept. It's going through sounds all the time. And A side with a 45 tour song is more for people who likes to play it in discos and things like that.
Was Never Stop a song that didn't make it on Front by Front and subsequently was released as a single? Because everybody here thought that First In, First Out would be the next single from the album.
Yeah, it depends the politic of the bands. We discussed a lot with our label about that, and the label wanted, in fact, to put First In, First Out as next single, but we consider that an LP is something really complete, and we don't want to do like Michael Jackson, like release all the singles of the album. So if we had an opportunity to do a new release, we prefer to try something different, having a new support, and we think it's better respect of people listening to your music.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and listen to Never Stop, and we'll be back after that talking more with Patrick. We're back in the studio with Patrick from Front 242. If you've just tuned in, we're lucky enough to get one of the members from Front 242 up in the studio today to talk to us. Remember, folks, they're playing this evening at Tommy's. The doors open at 8 o'clock. Rumor has it that it's sold out, folks. So if you snoozed, you lost. You don't get to go see them, but I know most, or in fact 90% of our listeners out there probably have tickets. Great single, Patrick, Never Stop. And let's talk a little bit about the background of Front 242. You are from Belgium, right?
Yeah.
And how long has Front 242 been a realization concept?
Until 81, we're doing this kind of music.
Since 1981?
Yeah. And
how many albums does the band have out?
4 albums and probably, I think, something like 3 or 4 maxis. Maxis are important because most of the songs doesn't appear on the albums.
Right. The back catalog CD comes with a lot of that, which is extremely helpful, thanks to Wax Tracks. Mm-hmm. We do feature on this program other Belgium acts like Neon Judgment and such. Did all of you guys gig together before you became extremely popular outside of Europe? Or?
No, I have to say there's really no Belgian scene. There is a scene because there are a lot of bands, but they're never in contact with each other because the kind of music they do and the manner they work is very individual. And it's really not the kind of music to do jam sessions and things like that, so we're quite isolated.
And was there any one club or something that all of you played in early on in the early 80s that gave you the exposure you needed?
No, I think that there was interest all over Europe, especially Germany, Belgium, and Holland, for this kind of band, and all those bands played in different clubs, and also there are a lot of disco, like big dancing places where they play this kind of music, but we don't have like a special place where everybody played.
Why do you think that Belgium and Germany is the hub of this electro body music, or the best of it seems to come from Belgium and Germany?
There are a lot of reasons for Belgium. I don't know about Germany, but for sure for Belgium it is that being Belgian means nothing. You don't have any strong culture like English or French people, and it's not always negative because it gives you the opportunity to assimilate the other culture very well. And Brussels also a very important communication cross in Europe, so that what happens is that people in Belgium just assimilate the other culture and take a lot of samples, sounds, and recreate, like recycle another culture. And it's typical from this kind of music, which is using a lot of sounds from everywhere.
Let's talk a little bit about the samples, and one sample that comes to mind is the Hey Poor. You don't have to be poor anymore. I'm talking, of course, about Welcome to Paradise, and also the song on official version, Angst, if we can even call it a song. It's just a little rant and raving of what I think is Prestonwood Baptist Church minister, maybe, because the phone number at the end there is a 214 area code. Let's talk, or give us a little insight as to Welcome to Paradise and Angst.
Yeah. I think that the first interest for televangelist was that it was a new phenomenon. We don't judge it. What we realized is that those people were very clever to use the media with religion. That's the first point. The second interest is that the slogans are very powerful. And they're real leader. They know how to speak to the people, and it gives a real power in the sentences. And they are singing all the time. So those reasons are, I should say, sort of musical reason to get those samples. And what we did is just put them on support. But it was a hard job because on 100 slogans you can only select like 20. So you need a big library of sounds before you can just make them sing on your music.
The one thing that I really like the most about Welcome to Paradise is that you're culling samples and sentences from televangelists who in themselves are not evil, but when you take certain phrases from them, take them out of context, put them together, it's pretty darn evil.
Yeah, it's a strange mix, and it can be very cynical, do you say that?
Exactly.
And I think it's ambiguous because some people think it's great because they have like a big religious feeling, and some other people are just laughing about it, and that's always what we want. It's just create reaction without judging. It's like a multi-interpretation way of working.
Are you surprised that Welcome to Paradise has become the big dance floor hit that it has here in the States?
I must say that we were not. But, I mean, not surprised. You're always surprised. It should be pretentious to say you were not. But, I mean, we had a talk with our label, and we wanted to put Welcome to Paradise as A side for the States and Headhunter as second side. But the label didn't want to, so... But I think it's a good record anyway.
Now, when you speak of the label, are you speaking of Wax Trax or RRA?
No, European label.
Which is...
RRA, Red Rhino Europe.
How is it working with Wax Trax here in America?
We have a very good relationship because it's an independent label, and also because I told you that the band control a lot of his work. It means also that you can have like a big percentage of the benefits, and it's very important because we reinvest all our money in our studio and our graphic studio also. So when you talk with this guy, you feel like equal, and you can really discuss about what you want for your product. You're not obliged to follow a certain campaign like Mayo does, and you can really personalize your products.
Okay, so basically Wax Trax gives you, and RRE, they give you total artistic freedom, which allows you to do
that's
this.
it.
Okay, great. Well, let's listen to Welcome to Paradise, and we'll be back after that to wrap things up with Patrick. That's Welcome to Paradise by Front 242. If you've just tuned in, we have Patrick Codenys. Am I pronouncing that right, Patrick?
That's okay.
That's good enough. He's in the studio with us. We've got just a little bit more time. We're going to ask him a couple more questions. Tell us what the live show's like.
Okay, the live show is very physical because we didn't like how most of electronic bands were. They were really like cold wave in the back of their keyboards, and there was nothing was happening. So we try to just spread this idea of being cold and just go for something hotter. And so there's a lot of dance music on stage. People are dancing and using a lot of sample, a lot of improvisation. And also the guy on the mixing desk, I told you, is trying to control this maze.
And that's Daniel?
Daniel,
yeah. Another question that all of my buddies, especially this guy right here, he wants to know, what is Front 242 listening to? What are you buying? What are you liking?
When you're working with sounds in general, you have like a professional deformation, and you just listen to all kind of sounds. I mean, you're really aware of everything's happening in your environment. And we listen also to classical music or movie soundtracks, TV, just plain TV. But we listen to tough music too, like other industrial bands and things like that. We're really open to all kinds of music.
What do you think of the recent rap craze? Do you enjoy any of the rap music or the hip-hop music?
Yeah, I enjoy hip-hop music, even house music and things like that, because I think even if you don't like the style of music, I think it's a really healthy kind of music because it's coming from the audience, coming from the DJs, and it's not like coming from major label who just drop that to the people through the press and things like that. It's really something coming from downstairs, and it's very healthy, I think, for music.
That's exciting. We were hoping he was going to say house music, weren't we, Jay? What do you see as the future of electro body music?
I think that the domain is so huge that we try to explore like any direction, and each album has to be something new. The future, I really don't know. I have to think it for next album.
Let's narrow it down then. What is the future of Front 242? Is there a new? Are you working on new material already, or?
We are taking a lot of sounds as usually. We have huge libraries, and what we do before each album, we just sit down and we discuss and trying to think which kind of new music will be worth it on the next album. Because if we cannot do something new, we won't do it.
Okay. And where does the tour go from here?
We go to Florida, and after we go back to Spain for a few dates, and that's the end of the tour.
Well, Patrick, listen, I really appreciate you coming up, taking time out of your busy day. Once again, folks, Front 242 are playing this evening at Tommy's. Doors open at 8 o'clock. The show is sold out, so do your best to try and scam you some tickets because you do not want to miss this show. And once again, Patrick, couldn't thank you enough. Why don't you go ahead and tell the folks what they're about to hear?
Okay, I choose a very old song from '82, and it's called Human.
Thanks a lot, Patrick.